right, cool. I think we're good to go. Oscar, it's wonderful to meet you, sir. Thank you for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
Cool. Thank
So,
you for having me.
yeah, you bet. So let's get into your life as a founder with Estate Doc Prep and just overall with what you do in your career. And I want to begin with one of the biggest things that we survived in our lifetime was this pandemic, but we're still feeling reverberations now as we enter a new year. How did that time period change the way that you do things, and how is it still affecting the way that you do it now?
I got to tell you, it got us closer. It affected us in the sense that, we were scared. I had, um, and how we do business, it just, it revamped, it rechanged the business entirely because now that we're no longer a local business, we're now global. That's the first thing that because of the technology that it had us to be able to embrace. That was the first thing, and I think the second thing on how it affected us was our thought process or our mindset of being able to change um, our thought or our belief or our core beliefs that we couldn't do business outside of our area before. But because of the technology, that was one of the first things that I think it changed for us was our beliefs of what and how we do business now is now we have customers in probably 12, 14 states and we're getting customers throughout the United States now by being able to do that. So I think that's probably one of the biggest ways that it helped and changed how we do business.
So let's get into what you do on a daily basis. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of third graders at career day. One of the
Sure.
kids in the back of the room is curious and he's like, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you
What
answer
I
that?
do, I'll tell you what I do. In a nutshell, I would say I help people protect their home for their beneficiaries. I hope people protect their home from the government, from the government deciding on what happens to their house when they die.
Okay.
So, in a nutshell, I help people protect their assets from the government, from fees that the government's going to charge. Wow, that's a great question. I'm trying to simplify it as much as
Sure.
I can. But if you say, if I protect, I help people protect their assets and from the government having to charge them to make the decisions on what happens to their things when they die.
Gotcha.
And that's in essence would be, I think, in the simplest form on what probate is, because probate is is the government deciding on what happens to your things when you die.
Yeah. That's a great
And
way of explaining it. So I want to know when you were in the third grade, what did you want to be when you grew up? What was your dream?
I wanted to be a fireman.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a fireman, and I grew up next to a fire station. My dad died when I was in 1976, and I was 5 years old. And we grew up next to a fire station, and the firemen next door, man, they would tell us stories, and we would hang out with them. It was just one of them things of going like, man, this guy's got it. They're nice. They don't work all the time. They work 24-hour shifts. They're doing yard work. They're building it out and they're saving lives. So we actually saw the fire station. We used to know all the parts of a fire engine,
Yeah.
at like 9 years old, because they would sit there and practice and how to do things and they would explain stuff to us and we would know that, right?
Yeah.
But that's what got us super excited to be able to do that.
So how did we get to this point? Take me back to where you were born and raised, and what were these foundational seeds that were planted into you to help people protect their assets, to protect their estate? How did this happen?
Well, I'll tell you how we're migrants from Mexico. We came as farm laborers. My dad died in 1976. My mother had five children, and she worked three jobs until until we retired her. But all along the way, she taught us how to pick up cans. She taught us that she could only give us two things, which was love and a warm place to stay, and God would provide food. right? And we would pray. And so she gave us work ethic. And so our first, the first thing that she said, I remember being really young and she saying, I asked her, I said, Mom, why do I always wear my brother's clothes? Why do you give me his clothes? And he says, and her response was, your small brother don't complain when he wears your clothes. Right? Because it was hand-me-downs, right? There was three
Yep.
of us, my older brother, me, and my younger brother. And I said, well, how do I get new clothes? She says, well, son, you have to, when you grow up, you can buy your own clothes. So then that's where I started my first business at the age of 9. I would say probably younger. Yeah, about 9 years old. I would talk to the neighbors and I would charge 50 cents to take out the trash cans for the trash on trash day.
Yeah.
And I would do that on the way to school. And on the way back, I would rinse them out and then put them away. And I would do that. That was my first business. From there, I went into shoe shining. And then sometime after that, I got into sales. I got into car sales. And then I got into real estate at probably about I would say about 19. Was in car sales and some guy had a flat tire and I just stopped. And he was on a motorcycle and I stopped and I said, hey, how can I help you? And we started talking. I said, here's my card. I sell cars. He goes, hey, what I owe you? I said, don't pay me nothing. I said, send me a referral. If you know anybody that wants to buy a car, here's my card. And he said, you know what? I own a mortgage company. You have a good attitude. I want you to come and work for me. And I said, I don't know anything about real estate, bro. I don't know nothing. He goes, you know what? You need to be one thing. You need to be honest and hardworking. And it seems like you're that. And then that's how I got into the real
Wow.
estate business.
Wow.
And the guy taught me the business. I worked very hard. We went into that. And so ever since then, we grew our real estate company to over 1,500 agents. We had a really large mortgage. We had a mortgage company, and then when the real estate industry went into the mortgage business, we went into the real estate business, and we built a real estate company. And then we sold it in 2009. Fast forward to now, we got into estate planning. We've always been in estate planning, but we used to refer them out to attorneys. And what happened is we stopped referring them to attorneys because attorneys' fees 10 years ago were $600. Now it's $5,000. 3,500 is, I think, the national average. The last time I did the research was probably about 6 months ago. The national average is $33,000 to $10,000 to $15,000 to create an estate plan. And everybody says it's 45 days to 60 days. So we ended up investing into the software at estate.prep. We ended up investing into the software that creates the documents, because when you understand what is a living trust, and I didn't get it until somebody broke it down to me and said, an estate plan is a contract between you, the beneficiary, or you with the grantor, the homeowner, and the beneficiaries, their kids. So the kids know what mom and dad want, they put it in writing. And the courts enforce it by being able to have a contract with the legal terms that need to be there to prevent probate. Because so what would happen is when we would get into real estate, a customer would die, they would go to probate, and they would be forced to sell the house. And here's why: because they'd be forced to sell the house because the attorney would say, well, you have to go to probate, it's $50,000. They're like, we don't have 50,000. The attorney would say, no problem. No problem, Joe. You don't have to pay $50,000. We'll finance it for you. You can pay it when you sell the house. I don't want to sell the house. This is mom's house. Well, there's two choices. You sell the house or you refinance it. If you can't qualify to refinance it, you have to sell the house because you went to probate. Now, obviously, if they had life insurance, that would also be a different avenue. But the whole point is probate. So once we started seeing a lot of that, we started to educate all of our customers when we started to find out that 68% of homeowners don't have an estate plan. And we figured out after talking to many of the homeowners, why don't you have an estate plan? Like we would always ask people, when was the last time you reviewed your living trust? Like, I don't have one. Why do I need one? And people doesn't know. So this is when this was an aha moment. This is something, me starting an awareness campaign is something that I've thought about for years, but I just never done it. I never took action. It's been one of them things that I'm going to do this tomorrow, and tomorrow never came, right?
Yeah.
Until today.
Yeah.
And today is when we started. So the awareness can that's how we got into the awareness. And then we understood, well, you know what, let's create a software to make the process less intimidating, easier, faster, and more affordable
Yeah.
at a fraction of the cost. And because the cost of an attorney, it's not just the start, it's but when your daughter grows up, and and we all want that, and you see your daughter get married, but she gets married to the tattooed son-in-law that you don't want him to end up with all of your inheritance.
Yeah.
So you got to exclude them and make sure and say, hey, if something happens to my daughter, I want my benefit, all of her stuff, want her to go to the kids, not to the son-in-law.
Yeah.
Right? And those are updates. So attorneys charge an update fee, which is called the restatement, because a living trust is a contract that cannot be changed. It needs to be amended. Say, I'm amending it, and this is the change that
Yeah.
I want done from the previous contract to the new contract or
Yeah.
to the new estate. And so every time they do that, it's $1,200. With our software, that software, you don't have to pay that fee ever again. Now, what we did is we charge a small membership on an annual basis, or every time that you need it. It's a $129 that you pay to update the software, because we update for all states
Yeah.
continuously on a yearly basis. So to keep it updated, so we say if we do it as a group, it's pennies compared to $1,200 or $1,500 every single time. So it's $129 per year, and only the years that you need an update. If you don't need an update for 5 years, you don't pay the 129. You only need the 129 when you pay,
Sure.
or when you need an update. So that's how I got involved, and why we got involved was, one, to be able to have estate planning. One is to be able to have estate planning at an affordable price that makes it less intimidating. Now, this is a comprehensive living trust, not compared to the will, or not to be compared to as a will or a living trust that gets done by for 200 or 100 $150. That doesn't that those living trusts, they don't do very much, and a lot of them aren't compliant. So it has to be a comprehensive living trust that can do layers, and that can do legacies and stuff like that. But in a nutshell, I didn't mean to go on and
No,
ramble
no,
off,
no. That's good.
but I want to give you a thorough background on how we got there, why we got there, and how the community could benefit by doing these awareness podcasts. I call them awareness because it's mind-boggling to me why anybody would not have an estate plan if you're a homeowner, own a business, or have anything of any asset of any value. A digital. I mean, I just had a an influencer. We created a living trust, and I am amazed. I didn't even know YouTube paid that kind of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's amazing that
It's
YouTube. I
crazy.
mean, digital. I mean, this kid's like 27 years old and making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month.
Yeah.
And he goes, and I said, how did you find? He goes, you know what? I was looking for a comprehensive, and I didn't understand that YouTube does that.
Yeah.
And he goes, oh yeah. And he started telling me anyway. So digital assets that can live on. And he goes, and what I want to do is I'm going to save this for my very intelligent kid. I
Yeah.
mean, to be able to understand that. But anyway, so those are the things that we started to unravel by being able to do estate planning. And now that we're helping people, it's amazing. Anything of an asset should be in the living trust, and an estate plan, which is a living trust.
So let me ask you this. Who's been kind of that inspiration, that hero for you in your life?
Ooh, that hero in my life, um, was my mother.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you, because she worked 3 jobs for 25, almost 30 years. three jobs, not
Yeah.
two, three.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I always tell my nephews, I always, wow, that's, you know, it's, you go back and my nephews always say, you know what, you know, how do you feel that grandma was poor and she didn't leave anything? And I said, you know, she left me or us because all my brothers, my two sisters and myself were in real estate. We're in the real estate space. My brothers do well, and they do we're both well. But I said she gave us the biggest gift of all, being the hero. What she gave us, she taught us how to have good work ethic, you know, and she taught us that if you're honest, your money will last longer. Two, if you work hard, you'll never be cold or hungry. And if you're nice to others, God will give you many gifts that are priceless. And I think that those things have more value. Like you know, the other day I was in the grocery line. This lady was yelling at another lady. I said, you know, it costs nothing to be nice, man. Just
Yeah.
leave her, you know, just give her a smile. And she's like, what is your business? I said, listen, just be nice. There's not
Yeah.
this, it's okay, you know.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, so I would say she is my hero for that reason in my life as a young child because you know she always said, you know, you will always have, God will give you everything you deserve, and if you're not happy, you can't change anything around you until you change yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And those words are deep because you know how many people say, "Man, that guy's a jerk." It's well, how, were you a jerk first? How were your reaction to that person?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I would say I would she is, and this is why I say she's a serial. We're serial entrepreneurs because my mom. You know, when I remember this, it's a. I say we're a good salesperson because I remember my mom when she retired. She said, you know, I'm thinking about going back to work. I said, why? You got it. She goes, you know, the house needs windows, and I need to go to work to buy the windows. I said, Mom, why don't you just ask for the windows? Oh, you want to give me windows? I was like, that's Mom, that's where I get the salesmanship.
Yeah.
Right? I
Yeah.
mean, she just a whole different you made me come up with the conclusion that anyways, but that's how I would say that story would be for that.
So what you're doing is you're spreading awareness, you're helping people protect their future, you're helping people get to a place that a lot of people don't think about. You said 68% of homeowners don't have the protections in place. So my question to you is, what gets you up every day to do this work, to help people and to also evolve as a human being? What is that inspiration, that drive for you?
You know, I can tell you, the drive for me is being able to live a lifestyle that most people only dream of, or that I can. I've been very fortunate in my life. I have had many gifts, and one of the biggest gifts that I feel that I have is not only life, but inspires me. What inspires me the most is when I hear my uncles and the stories on how they grew up and what it is and how fortunate I am. I mean, that to me inspire money. The money doesn't inspire me. What inspires me and encourages me and motivates me is the lifestyle that I can provide for my loved ones, when without thinking about it,
Yeah.
and being able to say, hey, you know, like my nephews are always, why do you always ask that? And I said, what? Because I always say, if you could eat anything in the, instead of saying where do you want to go eat, I always ask them, if you could eat anything in the world, what would it be? As long as it's within 45 miles, what would it be? We're going to go do that. And that's how, when they were kids, that's the experiences that, and they always say, well, what is that? So what inspires me the most in summary is probably being able to provide a lifestyle for my family and myself that most people dream of, you know, of being able to say, hey man, you know what, this is what it is, but that all comes with work and sacrifice, knowing that lifestyle came from that, right? But that gets you excited.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. If you had a dream tonight, ran into a 18-year-old version of you, you could give that young version of you a piece of advice based on this life you've lived, the wisdom you've gained. What advice would you give your younger self?
Stay focused on one thing. Stay focused on one thing. And two, if I was when I was 18, I was down the wrong path. I think I got success a little early and I went down the left hand side where I should have gone down the right hand side. Um, I think I would say I would tell myself it's one, stay focused, and two, depart from change your circle of friends,
Yeah.
change the people you're around, because the people you're around reflects your mind, reflects the mindset. And I mean, my life changed dramatically when I got married because my priority was no longer me, it was my wife, it was my spouse. And it was became an us thing, and she pulled me away from that crowd. And I think my mom used to say, everything happens with time. I knew that someday you were going to be a good citizen. I just didn't know when.
So,
So,
of all of these things that you've done and accomplished and evolved into, what are you the proudest of?
the proudest, what am I most, wow, you're digging deep here, Joe. I think the most that I'm proudest of is probably my 30-year marriage.
Yeah.
Because having having a partner probably defines who you are and what you provide in life, because it's not um I've had a lot of great accomplishments in businesses. I run 6 businesses right now. That is not my biggest. I think more than anything is the relationship and that I have. I think my relationship with my spouse, because that was not easy, but it was a great accomplishment. Because man, she just has the right words. But I would say that the 30 years of marriage, I would say that would be my biggest accomplishment.
So, at the end of the day, Oscar, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, colleagues, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I think I'm an honest, hardworking dream maker. I mean, a dreamer. I think I'm a dreamer because I'm always looking for a better way. My wife says you're never satisfied. I said, well, I've been married 30 years. You're doing something right.
Yeah.
Um, but I think my perception of myself is that I'm honest and hardworking.
Yeah.
And I always try to do the right thing. Sometimes when I do the right thing, it looks like I'm doing the wrong thing, but it has to go down deep, deep, deep. I always dig deep, and I ask for the higher power, and I believe in God, and I always say, God, help me, give me the wisdom to make the right decision here on what's the right thing to do, and I try not to. So my perception of myself is probably that I'm an honest and hardworking man that is a big dreamer.
I get that for sure. So, if anyone wants to hire you, reach out. They got questions. They want to delve further. What do they do?
Yeah, so we have at the website for any one of your listeners, they can go to estate.prep, save 1,000, use famous as a keyword. And if they use famous, they'll save $1,000. It's
Okay.
for 10 customers. The first 10 customers that get an estate plan, they'll save $1,000 on the lifetime membership. And they can go to estate.prep, and then if they have questions, they can call me. They can call our artificial intelligence assistant. I mean, sounds real, but she can answer a lot of questions at 805-909-4689, 805-909-4689 for any estate questions. Reach out. We're here to help and be able to make an estate planning process a seamless and affordable process.
Oscar, this has been wonderful. I'm so glad that we had this chance to illuminate, let everybody know, educate, and get them ready to talk to you. So thank you for your time today. Have a wonderful 2025.
Thank you very much, Joe, and thank you for having me, and Happy New Year to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.